All right, folks, today I have gear and tips for people that are beginners or amateurs trying to get into recording music and producing their own stuff. Or if you saw something I did and you're like, I want to learn how to do that, then you are in the right place. Let's check it out.
Check it out!
All right, so hopefully you already know this, but if you don't, the first piece of gear that you need to make anything musical on the internet is an interface. So you need a piece of equipment to take the sounds that you're making, hopefully lovely sounds, and get them through you to the interface to the computer so that you can work with them and turn them into what they need to be. A lot of people might still be thinking that they can use like an old Tascam CD tape record. That's not going to work for you anymore. You just need something to get the audio and make it digital so that it goes into your computer. So the first thing that I suggest, Focusrite Scarlett. You probably have seen a lot of people using these. They come in a couple different kinds of iterations. You can have one input, you can have two inputs. I suggest that you get more than one input. Two is a nice place to start. Essentially, if you have one, you can record one microphone at a time, one instrument at a time, but sometimes you like to be able to record two things at the same time. So anyway, that's the first thing here. Like I said, they're cheap. I've used Focusrite for many, many years. They make good stuff. They make cheap stuff. It's a good name. And they're highly reviewed. Many, many people are using them. The second thing I would suggest that you use or need so that you can hear what you're doing or hear what you're tracking are headphones. Now, you should not be using Bose headphones or Beats headphones. There's a big difference between consumer headphones and consumer audio products and musician audio equipment. Essentially, when you have Beats headphones and things like that, they're messing with the EQ spectrum and you're not getting what the music actually sounds like. And I know that's ironic and weird to some people because when Beats came out, it was, I want people to hear the music the way it is supposed. No, that's not true. All they're doing is turning up the lows and turning up the highs so that when you put them on, you're like, wow, this sounds really awesome and neat. Anyway, that's not the way the music was produced, and when you're creating music, you need to hear it the way that it's produced. If you put on Beats headphones or something, and you hear the low end, and then you think you got the bass in your song right, and then you go out to your car or something like that, it's not going to be right. So you need something with a neutral or flat dynamic response so that your EQ is the way it's supposed to be. Now, I've used one set of headphones my entire career. I have them over here, the ATH M50s. I think they changed the name now to M50X or BT. In 11 to 12 years, I've gone through one pair. Yeah. And you might have to get different ear cups. I bought a little thing here so I can cover this and so it doesn't chip, because some of these materials are going to chip after a while. But I also bought these little cushions. Oh my God, they're so worth it. Anyway, you need a pair of headphones. There are a couple that are cheaper than this, but for the price and for the quality of what these are, you're going to see so many people using these. It's just totally worth it to buy these, and they're not that much money anyway. Also, you can buy them used. I bought a pair of them used, covered them up like this, and kind of redid them, and I still use them now. I use them to track drums. There's no difference. Wherever you need to start, don't feel like you need to go to brand new things or whatever. I know that gives everybody the warm feelings. I'm really doing this. I bought it on Amazon. I'm really doing it. But still, doesn't matter. You can buy used gear. It's just as good. Which brings me to my next thing. You're going to need a microphone to get the beautiful sounds from you into the computer and then to the world. Something that has been bundled with the Focusrite, and Audio-Technica makes these headphones, is the Audio-Technica AT220. It's a condenser microphone. If you don't know what a condenser microphone is, that's fine. There's dynamic and condenser microphones, essentially. There's ribbons as well, but it doesn't matter. You're not going to buy a ribbon microphone. That would be ridiculous. You need a microphone. So you need to start somewhere. Do not lust after crazy gear and things that you think are going to make you sound amazing. You're not going to know the difference, I swear to you. You need to start somewhere, so start small. And if you have to sell it later or you want to upgrade, then do that. Don't feel like you're buying, oh, I wish I could buy a better microphone. It doesn't matter. You need to start producing things. You need to start making things. This is a quality microphone. It's been reviewed thousands and thousands of times. Just look at the reviews and feedback. It also comes basically built so that you can put it right on a mic stand, and you don't need to have one of these shock mounts, which is also nice as well. So, moving on. Another thing that becomes rather important is that mixing with headphones or putting things together with headphones is fine, but it sometimes skews the way that you're hearing things, because obviously we don't hear all music and all audio all the time like this on our heads. So you might want to get monitors. Once again, this is not something you want to try to buy a Bose sound system at Best Buy or something, or some other kind of thing like, my grandfather has these big speakers and I thought I would use those. Don't do that. You'll be amazingly surprised when you buy monitors that are made for music production, even cheap ones, that the sound blows all of that stuff away. So at least I was. I remember going and thinking, oh, $200 for this Bose system or something, and then I went to a Guitar Center and they talked me into monitors, and then I was like, holy shit. So I started out with Roccat KRKs. I'm still using Roccat KRKs, but I upgraded 2 times to some bigger ones. I think I'm using 10s now, or am I using 8s? I'm using some bigger ones now, but I started off with the smallest ones they made, and they worked really, really well for me, and they sounded badass, and I haven't had any problems with them. And once again, I've been using KRKs now for 10, 11, 12, I don't even know, a lot of years. So let's move on. The last thing I'll put here, and of course there's a couple different things you need. You need some mic stands and some cords, but those are, you can get a lot of different stuff like that. But I wanted to say that you should have an external hard drive. You should have, it doesn't need to be a big one, a special one, or anything like that, but it should be fast enough to transfer data between your computer quickly. Essentially, you want to save computer power by offloading your audio tracks and stuff to an external hard drive. What happens in a short summarized way is that when you're running your files right off your computer has to do extra computing to pull off of itself the files at the same time. So if you have them on an external hard drive, that helps a little bit. Now there's technology that's catching up to all this, and this might even start to be obsolete here soon, or it might already be. This is how I do things. I suggest you get an external hard drive. It's also important either way, because you should be backing up what you're doing, and you don't want to record something and then have your computer take a shit, and then you don't have the thing you recorded anymore. So let's move on to tips for beginners and amateurs. So starting out, these are basically like do's and don'ts. I wanted to have a list of 5, but it turned into more than that, so here we go. Tip number 1, and not enough people know this, and it's a good place to start. Your ears will not know the difference. If you're lusting after pro equipment and you're kind of new into this, you're a new guitar player, obviously it is a natural consumer thing to lust after professional equipment. Oh, this one's made out of 100% American mahogany. This one's made... Obviously, we all do that. I do that. But what's important here is that, kind of like a lot of crafts, similar to food tasting or wine tasting, you're not going to know the difference for quite a number of years. If you go into $1 million studio and they have all this amazing gear or whatnot, some of the people there are going to be able to hear those differences between speakers and between things, but you are not. And that's okay. You might be able to notice small subtleties, but for the most part, you can't really notice the difference. That's important, because every time you lust after that better microphone, every time you lust after better speakers and guitars and drums and everything, you're not going to be able to hear the sonic differences between these things. And that's another reason why these reviews between drum sets and guitars and all that kind of stuff exist, and they're such a big deal, because people want to try to hear the difference, and then they think they can hear the difference. It actually has been proven, not to keep going on about this, that just like wine tasting and just like things under hypnosis and stuff, if somebody's being told that they're hearing a new piece of gear, or that it's a better piece of gear, or they're being told this is an $800 bottle of wine and this is an $8 bottle of wine, their brain will trick them into thinking that they do hear a difference. So the point is, again, do not spend too much time lusting after these things or thinking that they're going to make you a better musician or make you more of an upper echelon. You're going to move and you're going to get that new microphone. It's just not true. You need to be spending more time just making stuff instead. Next, this plays right into what I was saying. Do not spend too much money on physical gear at first. Preamps, inboard and outboard gear, stuff like that, because it does not matter that much. You need to start creating things, and you need to spend more money on plugins. Plugins are going to be your friend, especially when you're starting out and you don't have that much money, because they're cheaper to buy, they're more accessible, there's a lot of free stuff, and you can use them to your advantage to make everything sound better, whereas you might have thought you had to sound better by getting, better inboard gear, preamps, warm, fuzzy, tube amps, and all kinds of stuff like that. Spend that money on preamps. Which brings me to my next tip. Buy plugin suites. So what do I mean by that? I mean, do not buy a whole bunch of different plugins from a whole bunch of different people and things like that. Not to mention, if you're still in an era of getting things free on the internet, wink, wink, stealing them, your plugin list, as every musician knows, is going to just keep filling up with a whole bunch of shit you don't use. What's more powerful than having a bunch of stuff you don't know how to use or you don't use is having a few that you utilize and know how to use well. So I would suggest using, just Waves plugins at first, or Slate. I use Slate. Slate taught me how to do all kinds of things and helped me finish my fourth album, because they teach you how to use all of their plugins. Professionally teach you how to use their plugins. My next tip here is maybe kind of simple, but if you're starting out somewhere or you're an amateur level and you don't have that many views or whatnot, find other people of your similar sound or your similar followers and things like that, and ask them if they will work with you. I wish I had done this longer ago, but I had this more stubborn integrity about everything I was doing, and I had to find people that were absolutely like-minded with the same vision and all this kind of stuff, and that stuff doesn't really matter on the internet as much. It can matter to you, and that's good. It's good to have integrity about what you do. You don't need to sell out and fucking make stupid stuff and do things you don't believe in. You can still believe in it. Anyway, my point is, find other people, and even a little bit beyond you. If you're doing something and you made something and you want to see if you can work with other folks, if they'll work with you, it does not hurt to reach out to these people. Send them a DM message on Instagram. Send them a message on YouTube if you can. Find them on Facebook. Try to reach out to people and see if they'll work with you. Here's another tip. This is a random tip just from me personally and the way that I work and do things, and it can go pretty deep, so I'll try to keep it very short. If you're somebody that's a writer and you're somebody that's trying to write original music and stuff like that, my tip here is write for the song. Quit trying to back away from the song and think about what you want to inject the song with, or what kind of song it needs to be, or what kind of genre you're trying to craft and all that kind of stuff. If you wrote something, listen to what you wrote and keep asking yourself what it's telling you that it wants. That's how I write everything. That's how I've written everything I've ever written. If I have a piano line, I'm not sitting there necessarily trying to guide it in towards an electronic direction or a heavy direction. Yes, if I'm hearing that in my mind and I'm excited by the idea, then that feels once again like the song is telling me what it wants. So think about it like you created a baby, and then it grows up a little bit as you put more things into it, like food. And it's telling you what it wants. It gets to a point where it can tell you, like, I need this, or I want this. And then you get to see it grow and become a thing, this beautiful thing that you created. It's kind of a weird analogy. But the point still stands. Write for the song. Don't try to inject it with other things that you think you want to have on it. It's going to make the song suck after a while. Now, to my last point. And I already kind of said this, and I already kind of covered this. If you're sitting around like me, and like I've done many, many times, creating what you feel like is your masterpiece, and you're not putting anything up on social media or anything on YouTube because you're just like, my talent is going to shine through, and I'm going to unleash this masterpiece into the world, and I'm going to be discovered, or whatever the hell you think, that's pretty much just not true. Not true really at all anymore. And I don't want to shit on anybody's dream, because that would have probably pissed me off too. But the point is that you should just be making stuff and putting things out there, even small bits of things, instead of just kind of keeping yourself in this cocoon and writing and then being like, it's not good enough and I can't do it. You need to just be doing things. People are actually more excited nowadays to follow you, get to know about you, or follow your musical journey than they are about trying to find random masterpieces of music that are just hidden away in the sparse parts of the internet. I've spent many years not engaging in social media, not doing a lot of things because I didn't like any of that stuff. I still don't. I have weird feelings about it. But people want to get to know you. People want to follow you. They want to know you. That will make them connect to your masterpieceal music, whatever the hell, masterpieceal. That'll make them connect to your music more anyway if they feel like they get to know you and they feel like they have some kind of a relationship that they've built with you just through comments or through email or whatever the hell, just through watching your material. So the point is, once again, do not hide yourself away. Just do things. Do stuff. Everybody starts somewhere. If you're a skateboarder or you're doing anything, you're going to know that you're going to have to go through that shitty stage. You're going to have to be bad at some point. So pretending and hiding yourself away until you feel like you're good enough to show anybody anything, everybody starts somewhere. And it's kind of cool then if 5 years from now you are releasing masterpiece music and it's your favorite thing and you really come a long way, then you get to go back and look at where you started. And some people will like you better when you started. They'll be like, oh, there was more heart and soul when you started. Now all the production and the auto-tune or the perfectionistic thing makes it actually less relatable. So point being, again, just make things, get out there and do things, and stop sitting around and waiting for it to be perfect or waiting for the perfect gear. So I hope this meant something to you. I have a tendency to ramble and not put these things together in a very coherent, wonderful way, but I hope that I put it together in a way that helps you in some fashion. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm creating more things all the time. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for tuning in.